That's what I think, that's the missing piece, Scott. That's the missing piece.
This one system will let you step away from your business, and the truth is, you're probably already doing it. In this video, I'm going to interview Jamie Rothorn, who's trying to scale past 7 figures while implementing systems. I'm going to cover exactly what a system is, how you can implement systems for your team so that your team doesn't slow you down, and the missing feedback loop that most people don't implement correctly.
Oh man, Scott, it's so good that you know my stuff because you put it back at me. And I'm like, of course.
Now, I'm going to let Jamie introduce himself, and we'll get right into it.
Yeah, so my background is I set up a YouTube channel in 2018, which is called The Zach and Jay Show. That was one of the fastest growing entertainment channels in the UK. We grew to 1 million subscribers in 2.5 years. Then took a year out, pretty much of everything in life, went to Mexico on a one-way ticket and needed a bit of cash, so started cold DMing entrepreneurs that I wanted to work with. Cody Sanchez was the first client, so worked with her from month 2 of her channel, then signed Morning Brew, and since both of those channels kind of exploded, worked with really cool entrepreneurs since then. So Dan Martell, Simon Squibb, Sahil Bloom, yeah, just really strong array of entrepreneurs around the world.
That's incredible. So, and now you're building this agency, and it sounds like you did about $500,000 last year, which congratulations. That's honestly amazing. And you wanted to cross that $1 million goal. So you mentioned systems are kind of holding you back. And I know when we talked in the past, you said you didn't even really kind of think you had systems, which I'm going to show you that you do.
I'd be interested in hearing from you of like how you've used systems in your business to like pretext this information.
So with most agencies, they work very similar. So you have an order coming in. You have a customer probably did a sales call with you. They're purchasing, now have work to be done. So the next step in this is it's as simple as having work. And so what we're doing is we're building the building blocks of a system, and we'll show how staff works into that. But once you have that work come in, you're probably going to have some standards involved, maybe an onboarding form. So you'll have a piece of your system. So I think you sent me an onboarding form, and then you built out a strategy and you put me into your school. So you have this process for fulfillment, which is the work being done. So you've already systematized that. And that was something that when we originally talked, you just didn't seem clear that you understood that you've actually built a really strong system already. So from there, basically work's being done, and then we have delivery. So for your current system, obviously I'm in your program. Delivery, a lot of it is you delivered a strategy to me, which was very helpful. And then you continue to deliver by giving me access to the course, which is also very helpful and runs without people. And I know you're revamping that as well. But then you also have John working in your community and you, who every time I send a video, you're giving feedback. So all of that is work. And then every time you give feedback or you give a piece of it, you're delivering a product. So we only have one step left. This piece is what most founders miss, is that feedback piece. So doing a simple feedback form will help make this process better. So that is a system. There's literally nothing else to a system. That's the entire workflow. Is we're having an order come in, we want to deliver it, and then we somehow want feedback to make it better. So that's how we actually get a loop going on. Now what we need to do is determine what piece of that system needs your attention. So this is where we're getting into your actual problem. So it sounds like you sent me over a draft of a job rec, but it had videographer, it had strategist, and it had video editor in there. That was one of the key things that I think is already an issue, is that's 3 jobs. It's going to be very hard to hire someone that does all 3 outside of maybe an entrepreneur who maybe went through your course, who would also probably be very expensive.
Yep.
So what we want to do is figure out, of those 3, what's your highest need? What is driving the most pain currently? What's taking up the most time?
I would say we've got the systems dialed, and I can sort of step out for of that. And the system's pretty bad for 2 days requirement of my time to oversee the YouTube strategies we've got going on, to get involved in the circle and just oversee that, join on the calls, do the one-on-one consultings I do as well. So I'd say I've got 3 days that are pretty much wide open, and that's I'm outside of fulfillment, which is great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good place to be. And so previously I hired the head of operation to help me scale ops, but then I realized that ops isn't really the bottleneck here. I think the bottleneck is really getting more volume through this existing process: order, work, delivery, and feedback, and essentially just, selling more. And then using that revenue to tighten up a couple of the bolts on things like feedback and the product once there's more volume going through it.
Cool. So now our goal has shifted, because originally we talked about work. So now we want to focus more on getting more clients in.
Yeah, which my hypothesis was the best way to do that would be YouTube and webinars.
In that piece, what is slowing you down?
I would say, yeah, I feel great on the strategy. Even execution, I'm really looking forward to that. I would say like it's more of like an emotional thing of I've just brought on this editor who's full-time in Portugal, and I want to get it right, man. I don't want to overwhelm him from day one with this is what the company vision is, the value, or everything when it's like on a 1-month trial. But equally, I want to give him enough to go. I want to have like, checkpoints, reviews. I want to be clear. I want maximum work from him as an individual, maximum work from me, and then maximum work as a team. And that's the unknown.
So in that case, you're basically your own customer. So you are ordering work from your editor. And so it's not necessarily customer facing, but you're still building a system here. So all of it works the exact same way. So the editor is still doing work. So you're finding a video, you're doing this process of using your area of genius, then you're filming that video, and then you're going to send that to your editor. So you've ordered from your editor and he's going to do work. You've probably picked someone that has the skill set already and has the knowledge. So it's really going to be up to you to really define that in a little bit better so that way he can be successful. So when you have that order come in, the first thing you need here is order details. So you've now ordered, you've filmed your video, you're excited, you're passing this off. So you need to give details with that, because if you just send an editor a file and don't tell him what to do with it, maybe he downloads it, maybe he doesn't do anything with it, maybe he edits it in, like maybe he turns it into a whiteboard video. He doesn't really know what to do with that. I want to get through this little piece, but what we're going to need is staff with knowledge. So you don't have 20 people to train someone, so you can't hire someone off the street. You need someone who already understands editing, already probably understands pacing, already can use the software. You're not building a course and training people. So you're hiring someone who has the core ability to do that job. And the last piece in here that really makes the entire kind of system is going to be standards. So you gave them details, but then what I typically do is I have a checklist of standards. So even with my editor, I say, hey, these are the 10 things that I really care about. You need to go through and QA check them. What the magic happens here is that's really where we get back into feedback. So they've done their standards. Now they're going to deliver it to you. Your feedback here now can be, hey, editor, this doesn't meet our standards. Please go back and look at our standards and then redo it. So you can almost leave a little bit of a gap, especially not the first month. The first month you want to handhold as much as possible. So you want to train them up. But after a certain time, if you're seeing repeated issues, that's a you issue, not necessarily the editor issue. And so what we do here is we build this feedback loop. Every time a video gets delivered to you, your job is to give feedback.
Yeah. And I really like that. I like that.
So that is how you build this system. And so the magic in truly systemizing is when this feedback goes back into the order details or the standards, wherever you need to put them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
Okay, questions?
No, I like it, man. I like it. And I think that's what I've learned from working with people is being super clear on what you expect. And I think almost using that as a scorecard that you constantly touch and say, look, where are we at based on this? And then having that feedback loop of like implementing that there. I think where I struggle a bit is having them actually do a checklist. Like I think if I bring it out on the one-on-one, great, that's cool. But having a document they actually work through, I think that would be more valuable.
Yeah, so I think, and you said a scorecard. Scorecards are awesome. That's exactly what I mean by standards is when, for example, on my team, for our sales team, every time they get off a call with the client gets a text message, how was your sales call? And it's 4 questions. So, and that's a scorecard for my team. So with your editor, what you can do is you can require them, basically you set the standards. So you say an order isn't submitted until they also complete the scorecard with it. So they score themselves. So self-feedback is really powerful, and they can even rank themselves 1 to 10 in how did you do with audio syncing? How did you do with music pacing? How did you do with the different key things that you care about? And the best part is on each order, you just pull up their scorecard, watch the video, and then if you feel they didn't do a good job at a specific piece, you can highlight which one it was, explain why, and maybe they rated themselves a 6 out of 10. And you're like, I agree with you, it's a 6 out of 10. And now here's how we get you to a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. No, I really like this. It's good.
Now, how do we actually apply this? Because all of this is theory. What do we actually do? So I actually have my board with my editor. So I'm going to walk you through kind of what that looks like. And I kind of created a blank one. But basically, let's talk through this process and see if we can edit it or if we need to edit it. Basically, you're going to submit an order here. So you probably have a different board if you're using this, if you're that organized. You might have a notepad. So what I do is anytime I have an idea for a YouTube video, I write down on my iPhone notepad. And I write down an idea and it sits there. Then obviously I'll film it, I'll upload it, and then what you can do is this board is specifically for the editor. So as soon as it's ready for the editor, you can put it into order. So this is work that needs to be done. And the reason why using project management like this is so powerful is because you can also see where constraints are in just this workflow. So let's just say you went on a rampage and you filmed 30 videos over 30 days because you did like a sprint. And then there's 30 videos here. You could very clearly see that your constraint is actually getting these videos edited. And so I'll show you, I'm going to jump to mine really quickly. You'll see that I have, this is a little different, but it's the same concept. I have my ideas here. I have to film, I have thumbnails, but then you can see right here, my constraint is my editor is not editing the dang videos. Like, so that clearly shows me where I need to work on. And I started hiring new editors to solve this issue. But with you, we're going to move through this. So every time you create this, you want to be as detailed as possible. So you want to put in your standards, your checklist, the link to the video. And I think you use Notion, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So any project management works the same. You don't have to build a crazy SOP. You can literally put in here, it can say like, you can make a list and you can say video file, and then audio is screen share. You can have a list of 10, and what you do is just build a template of the 10 things that you care about, and you just put them in here. So instead of having to think and write this every single time, you just have, call this like save. And every time you just create a new video, you would just come in here and duplicate this. So new video, and it should pull up the saved pieces right here. So then all you have to do is go in and fill out the information that they need. So basically turning this into a form. Now, if this was on a customer facing, you would literally probably turn it into a form. So basically think about this as the onboarding for your own work. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, cool. I like it.
With this process, you then obviously are assigning it. So I'm just going to assign this to myself. And then let's just say your expectations for your editor, you do higher end edits. So maybe it's a full week. They get a full week per video because I know that you're producing one video a week and you want it to be the best quality. You're really concerned about that piece of it. Whereas with my editors, I want a 48-hour because I'm slightly less concerned about quality as I'm trying to ramp up my page. So you just kind of set those standards. And the advantage of using project management is, again, is you get to see if this delivery is late, you get to see that it's late, and then you get to dive into why it's late. Is it a capacity issue? Is it a training issue? Are the files too big? Yep. Can he not download? So it's starting to show you, just this board will start to show you where the potential issues are in your process.
Okay, yeah, because cool. I think it's just refreshing because I've got a template that I use for myself when it comes to planning. Yeah. Like, is it integrating the product and, what the script writing process is and rewrite the avatar, stuff like that. But it's a bit silly how I don't have one for an editor. I don't know why I've missed that.
I'll go over this last piece really quickly and then we'll kind of open more questions. But basically, once you have the video, you'll put in here, order. Once it's ordered and assigned, you can probably leave it in order. And then once your editor is actually working on it, they can move it over to work. So and you can use different names. I don't usually call this order work. I have my own internal, but this is just to give you the idea of this is mirroring the system.
Yeah.
So they're moving it over. Typically, one of the key things, if you have one editor, you should really only have one thing in work at a time. That's just completely, because otherwise they're just going to be confused on priorities. Where do they need to be working? What's the next video? You'll get slower results. So in systems, it's the best way to do is just a one flow. Because if I'm editing 10 videos, I'm editing no videos basically. So as soon as he's done, he's going to reassign it to you and move it over to approval. So now it would go over to Jamie and say, hey, Jamie, this video is for approval. What you can do even in here with the template is you could even just pre-built in. Like you don't have to have a score, like an SOP can have a score, and then you can have the 10 things I care about here, and then they can just put their score next to it. And then if they say, hey, if they didn't do that, you say, hey, it's not done, put it back in work. And I'm waiting for, and this is where systems, you have to empower the system. You have to stick to the system.
That's the missing piece, Scott. That's the missing piece.
Yes. There you go.
That's the missing piece. I need, that's it. Because I've got like, because I guess even the manual process that I've got that aren't stored in a nice SOP thing is, I don't shout at them, but I go, man, why is this not going out 2 hours before the client, after the client's paid, or why is this not going 5 minutes after the presentation? Like that's the system's in my head and I'm enforcing it. I think where I've literally never done in my life is had the workflow go through the system and almost gatekeep around that, like having them fill that scorecard on how violent the hook is and how gripping the hook is, and whatever that may be, and then having that as part of the system on top of the editing, really strong. That's a game changer.
Well, and you built that in for me as a client because you have, and it's not a scorecard, but you have basically a worksheet before I film a video.
Yeah,
you're saying, does this match your avatar? Does this match a pain point? So you've already built these systems, and that's why when you said you didn't understand systems, I was like, no, you have an amazing system. You're just maybe not building your back-end systems.
Yeah, I'm not building the back-end systems. Yeah.
Cool. That sounds like you had a breakthrough, which I am excited about. And so the thing, too, is it becomes very much on you. So in my companies at Founder Systems AI, we have basically an AI where if they have a question, they're not allowed to ask me first. If they ask me first, I'm going to send them a link to our AI and say, screenshot the question that you just asked me in our AI. If it answers it incorrectly, I will then answer it. Yep. Typically, I don't get a response. And the thing, too, is that's only going to happen once or twice. I've never had someone ask me more than 3 times to a question that the AI can answer. And it's the same thing here is if they move it here and a piece is missing, you just move it back and you give them feedback. And this is where it's really valuable is you just say, hey, this piece is missing. Make sure to complete that and then move it back to work and reassign to me.
Yep.
Cool. So they're going to move it to approval. You're going to approve it. You'll move it to delivery, which maybe instead of calling it delivery, you call it like to be posted or to be scheduled. And then feedback, you've already kind of covered feedback in the approval process. I added this in here more for staffing. This is where instead of moving this to done, what you could do is at the end of every week, typically when I have new hires on, I do a one-on-one every single day for the first week. So every single day we'd come in and say, okay, maybe we'd go through what's in feedback, what was done, or what's in approval, or where are you stuck? And we'll go through that every single day. And then the next week we'll go once a week. And then the next week we'll go to every other week. And then we'll go to once a month. And then ideally at that point for me, I've systematized this and someone else is taking care of the business. So eventually you'd bring in maybe John starts running it or your strategist starts running it. But this feedback piece is super important, not just in a micro sense of this task, but understanding the bigger vision, the mission, the why, and then looking at the results. So maybe the feedback is you look at this video and it stays here and you can call this like results. And after the first 2 months of the video being up, okay, here was our first 30-day results, whatever that looks like. So they're actually understanding which video went well, and then you diagnose, well, this video got 100,000 views, this video got 10,000 views. Outside of, what do you think you could have done to help me edge up a little bit higher? So that's where, again, we're not just giving an initial edit on or feedback on the edit, we're giving feedback on the actual vision of the business. So where is this impact actually being made?
Yeah. I really like it. And would you, for that section as an example of a weekly review, would you just leave that almost as a backlog and then revisit that like 2 p.m. Friday every Friday or 3 p.m. And you just go,
Yeah, especially in one of the really quick issues I saw with your scope was that you had multiple jobs in there. So obviously we're talking specifically about an editor. It's going to be a lot easier to hire one specific person and then they can branch out. So like I have a COO. She was actually my first hire. She's branched out over years to become pretty much running the entire business. But like I recently just handed sales over to her and it was an 8-month process. So there was a really big transition there. So if you bring in maybe an editor who has the ability to run strategy and who has the ability to do videography, what you want to do is you want to get them badass at editing first. So you get them to be a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 in your book on editing. and then you add responsibilities to them. And what it does is it narrows the scope. It shows them a lot better what good looks like, and then it gives them a growth trajectory.
Man, that is actually like relieving to hear. That's another breakthrough, because I feel as though it's like, yeah, it's less responsibility on me to train them up in 5 different areas. It's one clear focus, one clear outcome. If they're good, then they can do one more thing.
Questions?
I think a question I've got is, how would you frame it if you're not too sure the exact direction you want to go in? And what I'd say by that is, like, I know sort of what makes a great video, but I almost don't know how I want to deliver it. Like, do I want to do large, hard to execute videos that are got way more viral capabilities, but I see as a bit more high risk, high reward? Do I want to do regular uploads and just like almost get in the ring and get warmed up? I'm not entirely sure just yet, so I feel as though it's a bit of an experimental phase. And so yeah, how would you frame that if it's not too clear just yet? I guess there are stuff that would be clear and would be non-negotiables.
So it's actually kind of simple. And the question is, what do you want your results to be? And you, even in your training, you talked about this, is do you want to go viral to go viral sake, or do you want to grow your business to hit 1 million, 5 million a year? What is more important to you?
Oh man, Scott, it's so good that you know my stuff, because you put it back at me. And I'm like, of course.
Yeah,
You're making me feel like an idiot and a genius at the same time, because I've already worked this out for like the program.
Awesome. Any other questions before we jump off?
Man, honestly, I feel like a weight is lifted, and I do feel. I mean, I feel a bit torn, because I feel excited to apply this, but I'm almost like, man, I got Scott on the call. This is juicy stuff. Like, what else can I think of?
I'm happy to do a follow up later.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We should do a follow up in 6 months and see what the results are.
Yeah, we should. 100%, 100%. I think one question I've got is like, and I don't know whether this is the relationship that I've got with freelancers and as a one-man business, but how do you get the system to improve the system while you're out of the system?
Great question. And so I said this earlier, is one of the hardest things is that move from contractor work to full-time. So eventually you'll want some full-time staff, and that's just kind of natural progression. My largest agency employs 75 W-2 people, and we started off with all contractors. They got paid per project, per client. They were getting a percentage, whatever that looks like. And the transition was, we started bringing in the leadership. And so that's where the system starts to improve the system, is where you take, typically, and this is kind of a nuanced piece, you hire an individual contributor with managerial experience or the desire to be a manager. So being a manager itself is a whole nother skill, and people are like professional managers. Like, I could go be a professional manager somewhere. I don't need to know jack about the business. I can go be a professional manager because I have communication skills, I have system skills, literally in any industry. So there are people that are specifically managers. I don't like hiring those people. I like hiring really strong individual contributors that enjoy management. Now, one of the mistakes that you see a lot is you can't force your best individual contributor to be a manager. It doesn't work. So it's not always your best individual contributor. Sometimes it's the most organized. Sometimes it's the person that just follows the rules the most. And you have to find someone who actually wants to be a manager, because it's a whole different skill. And a lot of people fail at that transition up. And then another piece of it is, what I'll do is, let's just say editing. I will take my best editor and I'll say, would you like to move to, a chief editor role, where it's kind of like they're in charge of, now, instead of you doing the approvals, they're in charge of all the approvals. Because let's just say they do a great job. You never have to approve their work. It's always 100% right. And you have 5 editors on staff now. Every time someone else submits, they're going to submit to that editor. That editor is going to then review it, approve it, give the feedback. And then one of the key things is, you don't want them to actually fix it. You want them to give the feedback. So they want to make the system better, like you said.
Yeah.
So they're now replacing you in that feedback loop, and they get to basically become the manager of those people. But because they understand the role so well and the expectations, especially on the editing side, because technically they do have the ability to go and change it, but they get to see exactly what happens. But you can't just take anyone and move them. It has to be someone who kind of wants that leadership skill. So you have to basically ask. And I make my team reapply. So they basically, for those promotions, they reapply. We give them a new assessment. So they have to like actually do some kind of worksheet that shows that they have the desire to do it. And then we'll put them on another 90-day probation in that new role.
Right. That's a cool way to do it. Cool. Because I guess when that happens, when you have a system that runs itself as a system and improves, that's when you have a business that runs itself, right?
Well, I appreciate it. Any last nuggets for what was the biggest takeaway?
Oh, man, I'm not joking. Like, I feel as though this is the number one deficiency as me of an entrepreneur is leveraging people. And that sounds very capitalistic, that like leverage people like machines. But I can do it online. I can do it with the offer. I feel like the money's well leveraged. It now is like using humans to scale up to that next level, and scaling up them and making sure they make more money and enjoy life better as well. So this is like, I would say, tip of the tongue entrepreneurially for me. And yeah, the standards process of what non-negotiables do I need? Like what culturally do I want to reward? Include that in the process and be pretty rigid on like, was it followed? Yes or no? If not, we're going back, because very quickly they're going to do that every single time. And, I won't have to send it back very often a year in, and then they can train the next person up if they're right for a management position and they pass the application role, which I think that was a great takeaway as well. Then that can just be a key part of the business. And I think, like you said, system scale, like that, I think so many people cut so many corners when it comes to YouTube, when the magic really is in like what's under the hood, like how pretty is it under the hood? And I think that system makes it a lot prettier.
Awesome. It was great having you, Jamie.
Thanks so much, Scott.
Well, hopefully you found this video very helpful. If you're looking to add more systems into your business and scale through procedures that don't bring in additional chaos, check out the Founder Systems AI course and community down below. And of course, we give away a lot of our best material for free, so you can subscribe. And we also give free templates and checklists and SOP formulas all down below, so you can go ahead and grab that absolutely no cost. Make sure to subscribe. And if you want to learn more about systemizing your business, check out our next video.